We just learned last Thursday night that the union has sex with men. Some of you who are listening in, some of you right now, you can go to your iPhones or computers if they're up, and you can see this report right now, a report actually on the report, on c-fam.org. That's c-fam.org. The UN Family Planning Agency, UNFPA, has published a stunning rights statement that is signaling the beginning and future path toward the acceptance of pedophilia. They do this subtly by just happening to include the age range of sexual experience with men who have sex with men to include boys by definition as young as 10 years of age, even though they never actually call it pedophilia. This agency also calls for the legalization of prostitution, by the way, the use of drugs to help men cope with the stigmatization of being gay, and advises, quote, safe ways to have sex. Look for this. Be a part of the movement to speak out against this. Reparative therapy, big R and T, reparative therapy, uses time-tested, sound psychodynamic and cognitive behavioral methods that work. But that's why we're here to tell you what the American public, what the APAs, and many other people simply don't know and are keeping from you. Authentic reparative therapy gets rid of any and all shame for having homosexual feelings, because that's what sets a person up for true and lasting change. When the grief work is done on all these shame-based things, the lack of affirmation, approval, and affection during the gender identity years, when it's first formed, when those issues are felt and dealt with automatically in time, homosexual feelings tend to at least lessen, if not dissipate entirely in some cases. There's a distinct loss of father and the 3 A's, which are affirmation, approval, and affection. Without affirmation, approval, another name for unconditional love, by the way, and affection, boys have problems moving along their journey into manhood. They develop a shamed male self. That if I'm coming from a psychodynamic approach, which means I search with the client, with his viewpoint, going according to his belief system, not mine, his belief system, his wants for therapy, what he wants to do, not forced by me or Robert at all, we find out together in a trusted, compassionate relationship how these things came to be. The sexual attraction has at least lessened or dissipated entirely. That tells us 2 things. There is no gay gene, and change is possible. I was one of those sexually abused little boys at 5 years of age. A lot of other issues that contributed to my feelings as well in puberty. However, I was a classic child of repression. I didn't contact a reparative therapist who knew what they were doing until many years later as an adult. Reparative therapy helped save my life. I don't know what I would have done or where I would have gone if I had not had a trusted and, yes, loving, compassionate therapist who understood exactly what I was going through. I don't have homosexual feelings anymore because I did the hard work. I took my faith in hand, and I realized what was going on, and I said yes to the work. The work is hard, but it does work. You need to go to voices-of-change.org. That's voices-of-change.org. There are over 100 stories of authentic therapeutic change on this website. I edited them, but it's minor grammatical editing and unnecessary parts. The beauty of these stories is you're going to have your heart ripped out. You're going to be stunned because of all the pain and anguish, and then comforted because every single one of these men and women experienced real and lasting change. And their stories are all written, every word, by themselves. We have to keep confidentiality, so their whole names aren't there, but the stories are there. This is what judges, gay activists, the APAs, even some churches just don't know.
If the parents and the child remain in therapy and follow our instructions, then there's success. If they don't and they're not committed, of course, then it's zero.
When children come in, and let's say they're gay identified, and their parents want us to fix them, you know what we tell them? That's unethical. We don't force anyone into change. Sometimes a man will look up to me. I haven't asked him, it's unsolicited. I have not asked them the question if they feel a certain way or not. But they look up at me, sometimes with tears in their eyes, and get this. They said, last week for instance, they say, you know, David, this whole manhood, get affirmation and approval and affection, this feels so good. This feels a lot better than having orgies with men.
Church for priests and their conduct of pedophilia, but now the UN is supporting pedophilia with boys starting at age 10. Why? Why would the UN be doing this? Could I just add that I debated this on CNN 100 years ago when the Surgeon General, Jocelyn Elders, wrote that forward to a book called Harmful to Minors, and they were trying to lower the age of sexual consent to 12 then. This is not new. This is not new, but why are they doing this?
I believe that they're doing this. I believe that they're doing this because this really isn't about protecting children. It's not about discrimination of gays and lesbians and anything else. This is not about this, folks. This movement, in my opinion, is only about one thing: the complete normalization of homosexuality and transgenderism in every society on the planet. You have people in high places now who are, in some cases, not all, some cases, having these attractions themselves. And so they want to change the world. And so they're moving the world towards pansexualism, which is pretty much just the philosophy of sex is wonderful, let's all have it together whenever and with whomever we want it. And my question is, are we really going to let this happen again? Are we going to have to go all the way back to ancient Rome, where powerful and destructive men actually perpetrated relationships on little boys and called it man love? Are you prepared to do that? If you're not, then join our team and we'll explain what that means later on.
So there is a link between the teachings of communism, we'll go back that far, and just sexual anarchy. Go figure. But they're trying to destroy the family, so that's another factor added in. But who is financing the radical homosexual agenda? Where is the money coming from?
I would just venture to say that it's coming from the left. You know, I mean, the liberals don't want boundaries. Okay, in life we have to have boundaries. We have to have boundaries around our personal behavior, our sexual behavior, and I think that there are a lot of individuals in the United States who are liberal-leaning who don't want to maintain the boundaries that we have, and I think that's where the money's coming from, especially the Democratic Party. I don't mean to get political here, but that's where it seems to be coming from.
Here's what you may not know. This year, and I think over the next 2-3 years, Equality California, which is one of the main players in all of these issues, Equality California, and by the way, did you know they're in every state now of the union? They're Equality Louisiana, Equality Texas, and so on. This is what's happening. And they have been given raised $500 million.
Did, and they still do. And now we've come into full acceptance in culture, and the Supreme Court's made their ruling, and now it's just, they're afraid not to give, and they're afraid to give to any conservative causes. That's why people who work in this industry are just desperate for funds. There just is nothing, because corporate America will not go on record as helping a reparative therapist or an ex-gay organization or a family group like American Family Association. They will not do that. And how we got to that point would require another panel discussion.
David and I both belong to the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists, and that association will not let us advertise. They said, we don't like the therapy you do, we think it's harmful, which is not true. You may not advertise in any of our publications. You may not present at any conferences. Okay? We are being marginalized and oppressed for what we believe. So it's a very serious situation right now, ladies and gentlemen.
All these people who come to us, they believe fundamentally they were not born this way, and they are accessing their authentic, true selves.
In some states, it's now illegal, like New Jersey, California, Oregon, to Washington, D.C. That's my turf in Illinois. Now illegal to counsel kids to become straight. But is it illegal anywhere to counsel kids to become homosexual?
No. If a child comes in and says, I want to be gay, I think I'm gay, our professional associations tell us you should affirm that. You should help them explore that. You should help them see if that's the truth. David and I are in a real predicament because in the state of California, if we have someone come and say, look, I was sexually abused, now I have same-sex attraction, how can you help me? We have to be extremely careful how we word the treatment plan. Because if it includes any words about changing orientation, addressing orientation, we're in hot water. And that's where we stand now, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? I can treat sexual abuse, but I cannot mention sexual orientation in the treatment plan for minors.